Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Real Sports Updates here, back again with another video. So I kind of wanted to jump into this Jerry Tillery situation. It was reported that he did not show up to OTAs, and this is the voluntary part of OTA. So I really don't think there's a lot of stories coming out about who is not at OTAs, who's there. I really don't think it's that big of a deal for most players, but in this specific situation, in the situation that Jerry Tillery's in, I thought he should have showed up for OTAs. Right now, I'm not him. I'm not in his shoes, so I don't know what his line of thinking is. But I thought it would be very important for him to show up to these OTAs for several reasons. Number one being, you want to show up and compete, right? Now, we know the Chargers have upgraded on the defensive line through free agency and the draft. And Jerry Tillery has been a guy, he's a former first-round pick, and he really has not lived up, to the status of being a former first-round pick. He's underachieved, and we all know that. But I thought it would be a very, very important message to send to not just, Brandon Staley and the coaching staff, but to the front office. And to the rest of his teammates there as well too. You want to come in and compete. You want to come in and compete for a job, right? I'm sure he knows that he's probably not going to be starting this year. But regardless of what your position is on the depth chart, if you love football and you're a competitor, you want to come in and compete, right? And that starts with showing up, at OTAs. Just being around the guys, right? Being around the new guys that have joined the Chargers now, being able to meet them, and possibly being able to, kind of pick their brains and pick up some things from them, right? You don't think a conversation with Khalil Mack would be, beneficial to what you do on the field? A conversation with Sebastian Joseph Day, right? You talk about different things, technique, pick his brain, see what he learned from Aaron Donald and things like that. Like, there is a lot of value in just showing up to OTAs, and I thought he should have, been there. But again, I'm not him, and we know that his situation. The Chargers obviously declined the fifth-year option for him. I made a video about that a couple weeks ago, but it really doesn't bode well for him not showing up to OTAs. He has the Chargers have paid him all his guaranteed money. Obviously, as a first-round pick, all his guaranteed money is paid to him. He does have a $2.7 million cap hit this year, and if they cut him, the Chargers will, accrue that towards the salary cap, that $2.7 million dead cap hit. So I don't think that he is a candidate to be cut, and I think if they were to cut him, if they are going to cut him, I think it would obviously be at the final round of cuts. But I am certain that Tom Telesco, and just everybody in the front office, right? Everybody, up to Dean Spanos, they probably don't want to eat this $2.7 million dead cap hit, especially for a team who is expected to compete, right? The Chargers are expected to compete in the AFC West and in the AFC Conference, so you don't want to just eat a bunch of dead cap money and have that, pretty much just hanging over your head the entire season. So, like I said, Jerry Tillery should have showed up to OTAs, and, he should have tried to ingratiate himself with, the new guys, and try to re-ingratiate himself with Brandon Staley, right? Try to show up and just try to be a good teammate. Try to do as much as you can, right? You know that you've underachieved, but show up, right? Just have that willingness to show up. Have that willingness, to build camaraderie with your teammates. And I think he would have been fine. But him not showing up, I think it does make him. Now, if there's any value, if there's any trade value for him, I think it does make him a prime candidate for possibly a trade. I don't know if there's another team that needs, like, defensive line depth. Obviously, you would not be trading, premium draft compensation for him. Right? I'm sure the Chargers can get a 7th rounder for Jerry Tillery. I have no idea what team would want him, but a 7th rounder, that would make sense. He's a guy, he can come in and come in the second unit, the second defensive line unit. He can give a team some depth. He can give a team something. So I think the Chargers can get a 7th rounder for him. if that's out there. But like I said, I think he is a cut candidate, but the 2.7 million is a little bit. It's a little bit much. I think if his cap hit was a little lower, I would say for sure. If it was like in the 1.5 million range, I would say for sure. But the almost 3 million is a little bit much. And the Chargers are trying to compete, and if there is going to be a player who comes up later on in the season who the Chargers have an opportunity to sign, potentially for a playoff run or something like that, you kind of want to have a little bit freed up in case a situation like that happens, right? Let's say, a Julio Jones or somebody like that is, not happy with the team that he ends up signing with, or let's say he just doesn't sign with anybody for a while, and opportunity comes up for maybe somebody gets hurt or whatever. We seen what happened with the Odell Beckham situation last year with the Rams. There's a lot of variables that go into what can happen during the season, right? And so you kind of want to you want to have some space freed up to make a move if you need to, right? An emergency move or something like that. So that 2.7 million is a little much for cutting, but I thought it was in Jerry Tillery's best interest to show up, and especially if he knows that he will probably not, even if he doesn't get cut, he knows that this is probably going to be his last season wearing the Charger uniform. So coming into the season knowing that, I think Jerry Tillery, I think his best way to stay in the NFL and his best opportunity, to keep getting a paycheck, right, and to stay on the roster is to kind of be a locker room guy, right, be a glue guy. Now, I've heard some guys say that about him. I've heard like Herbert say in different interviews. I've heard other guys talk about how much of a good guy he is in the locker room, things like that. You want to show that to your next team, right? You want that next team to see that, yes, your option was declined, and yes, you were kind of on the outs a little bit with the team because you haven't lived up to what was expected of you when you were a first round draft pick. But for you to still show up every single day ready to work, right, with a good attitude, and building relationships with guys in the locker room and stuff like that will bode well for you for your next team. The NBA equivalent to this is, if anybody watches basketball, you look at Udonis Haslem with the Heat. Like I think he's 41, 42 years old or something like that. He doesn't play. I haven't seen him play in a very long time. I'm not even sure if he's even played a single minute this season. But he wears the uniform. He wears the warm-ups, and he's on the bench every single game, and he's engaged, kind of just like how a coach is. And teams really value that in not just basketball or football. In all sports, you have locker room guys, right? They're called glue guys, right? The guys who are not the superstars on the team, whatever, but they are the guys who kind of make everything go, right? They're the ones you can go to if you need advice about something or whatever. And they're normally veterans in the league, right? Veteran guys who have been through some stuff, right? They've been through a lot of ups and downs, and that's what Jerry Tillery, I think that's his best opportunity to stay in the NFL, is to be a glue guy. And part of that is showing up, right? Showing up to OTAs, showing up even when things are not going your way, right? Even if you are, unsure about what your next situation is and all of that other stuff, the best thing to do is just to show up with a good attitude and ready to work. And I think that is his best opportunity to stay in the NFL, because, if you can go back and look at the video that I made a couple weeks ago. I kind of broke it down what his numbers were and all of that stuff. And, his ranking and his grading as a player, it was not high. Obviously his stats are not, high. They're nothing to speak of. And his impact on the game is not really, felt, right, for being a first round pick or whatever. He just really doesn't have impact on the game, right, on the field. Now, like I said, you can do a lot during the week, right? There's a lot that goes on during weeks of preparation, right? You can be that guy that keeps everybody on track. He can be that guy that, commands, everybody's attention in the room, right? If he gets up and says something at one of the meetings or a film session or something like that, just based on the gravitas that he builds, right, off of the camaraderie he builds in the locker room with the coaches, with the players and all that stuff, he can be that guy. And, he seems like he's a very smart guy. you know, it seems like he's very sharp mentally and stuff. But you know, I would think that he would, you know, be thinking the same way, right? The decision on his career is probably, you know, pretty much been made, right? He's going to be a guy that is not going to be, you know, unless he has like this crazy career revival, you know, he's not going to be a superstar, right? He's not going to be a Pro Bowler. You know, he's not going to be all pro or whatever. The likelihood of that happening is very, 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 very low. So the next best thing to do is just to be an asset, right? And that doesn't necessarily have to come on the field on Sundays, right? It can come in the building from, you know, the preparation time, you know, from however long they prepare, you know, from Tuesday to Saturday or whatever. He can be that guy in the locker room. He can be that guy in the facility. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. And guys like that stay in the league and they keep getting paid. Like I said, Udonis Haslem is getting paid, right? He's not a coach. They respect him like a coach. The teammates respect him like a coach. The other coaches respect him like a coach, but he's still a player. He's still getting paid, right? He's still pocketing, you know, $3 or $4 million a year, right? Without playing any minutes, without doing it. You know, he just running practices and, you know, having his voice be heard in the locker room. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you were trying to maximize your earnings, right? There's nothing wrong with taking on that role, and that's his best opportunity right now. Jerry Tillery is to stay in the league, be that locker room guy, but. You know, it's not going to, and I don't think teams are necessarily going to be turned off by him not showing up to OTAs, but that does send a clear message across the league, you know, to whatever his next situation is that, okay, this guy's a gamer and he loves football. You know, the deck is completely stacked against him right now. You know, he has no reason to be at practice. He has no reason to be there, but he's still there because he loves football. He loves his teammates, and he loves, you know, playing in the NFL. And that's a clear and concise message to any GM who wants to take a chance on him, that wants to bring him in or whatever. Very clear and concise that he, you know, wants to be in the situation that he's in. So I thought that was important. You know, just a little thoughts on that. You know, like I said, most of these are not a big deal, but specifically with Tillery in his situation, I thought, you know, it would have done him a lot of good to show up. But, you know, he's not at OTAs, and the voluntary part of OTAs, I believe, is June 14th, I want to say, 14th or 15th, something like that. So we'll see if he shows up then. If he doesn't show up then it is going to be a problem at that point. It'd be interesting to see how the Chargers react to that. But, you know, until then, you know, you can't really say too many bad things about him, other than I think he just missed an opportunity to really show you know, his leadership qualities, you know, despite him not being, you know, considered, you know, one of the best players or even a starter on the team, you know. But hey, it is what it is, right? Like I said, we'll see what happens when the mandatory workouts come up here pretty soon in a few weeks, and you know, we'll know if we have a real story from that point on. But right here, I'm just giving a little opinion, my little spin on the situation. But that's pretty much all I got for this video, guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to give me a like on the way out. Thank you guys for all the support, and I will see you next time.